تأنس بدنيانا ولم تسر خلف ضيف السيف خذلانا ولم تعفر جبين العز مبتدلا تستمطر الذل إصغاء وإذعانا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Before I start, I always like to thank the people. Because when we don't thank the people, it made it possible for me to come and visit you brothers and share my story and share my experiences as a reminder to all those that believe that Allah Azza wa Jal guides whom He wills. And whoever He guides, no one can lead astray. And whoever He leads astray, no one can guide. My story starts way before the music business. As you all know, everything is decreed from the very beginning. Even though for majority of the youth, they're aware of my career and aware of the transition that took place, me leaving the music business and coming into the fold of Islam. The story starts way before then. When my story starts, it pretty much put us all on the same page. Even for those that already know me, you have yet to learn some things today about me as well. And I was born in New York City, in Harlem. The place is very diverse, very multicultural. And growing up, I was always influenced by the brothers in the community who indulged in pretty much negative things. Crime, violence, drugs, drug abuse. All these things plagued my environment. All these things made it very hard. You can put it. Yeah. All these things made it very hard to see things any other way. So when you're born with a one-dimensional perception of life, you ultimately start to fathom that in your mind, and you tell yourself, this must be the only way. Alhamdulillah. So growing up, I was always inspired by individuals in my community who indulged in all these negative things. And dealing with this harsh reality is very, very difficult. And as most of you brothers know, when we're dealing with these kind of environments, for those who've dealt with these kind of environments, you know that it's essential that we keep our poker face, I like to call it. Wallahi, sorry, we're sitting in an old casino, but to have your poker face means that you conduct yourself a certain way. You keep a still face that conceals some of the joy you do have in your life. But to expose these things in this environment proves to be a weakness when you're trying to survive amongst people who are very aggressive, you know, very negative in a sense. And I used to conduct myself this way until I found out that I had the ability to write. Writing was my first form of expressing some of the things that I held in my heart dealing with this harsh reality. And by writing, it enabled me to escape from this harsh reality. Even though after I wrote and expressed myself through words, I still had to physically endure this environment shortly after I wrote. Because I don't know if y'all know, I was a smooth rapper. I didn't really have a big mouth. Is that good? Alhamdulillah. So anyway, by writing, it enabled me to escape this reality. And I started to write all the time. And every time I wrote, it would give me a means of, you know, feeling good about the fact that I was stuck in this environment. You know, by writing, I could put myself in China, and I didn't even have a passport. So first stage of my writing was just addressing some of the matters I was dealing with. And the next stage was incorporating my imagination to really make these things go away. Then the third stage eventually evolved into writing songs. So So I remember one day I was in my neighborhood, and a brother came by selling a car. Basically a car that he borrowed. So he said. So I said, okay, cool. How much you selling it for? The amount was disclosed. We're not going to mention all that. But alhamdulillah, I purchased this car that this brother so-called borrowed. So I purchased this car, and I remember the brother that I was on the block, doing my thing with. He told me, yo, Aki, why you getting in this car, man? You got better things to do, man. Don't get in that car. So I told him, yo, don't worry. I'm just going to go around the block. I just want to see how I feel. So I called myself going around the block in this car that this brother just borrowed. And wallahi, I didn't even make it to the corner. Police pulled me over and I got arrested. And that same brother that told me not to get in that car was the same brother that came to pick me up from the precinct. And I'm sitting there getting myself prepared because I know he's going to give me this big old I told you so speech. Man, I told you not to get in that car. So I'm just getting my ears ready. But subhanAllah, instead of him beating me down, he started reciting things that sounded so familiar to me. I said, wow, that sounds like something I wrote. And then he kept reciting stuff, and I said, yo, that sounds like my stuff. And I just remember, when I got in the car, I left my book. And when he came to the precinct to pick me up, he had my book. And as he's reciting these things to me, I became very, very shy and very bashful because these are my personal feelings. These were personal things to me. But it started discouraging me. He told me, I never knew you felt like that. I never knew you was going through things like that. I never knew that you had the ability to express these things in such a manner. He said, yo, you should stick to this. So I'm looking at him like, okay, can I get my book back? So anyway, I took his advice, and I did. I started to pursue writing, and I started to, channel all of these things I was dealing with and use it as a form of painting pictures to show people who wasn't living in my environment what it's like. Wallahi, I made it big, I sold over 7 million records. I wrote over 52 top 10 hits. My biggest song was 173 million in audience, meaning that it's not a country in the world I couldn't go to and the person didn't notice me or know my song. Now, speaking for most entertainers that come out of this environment, we all start off with sincere intentions. The intention is always to try to change some of the situations in your immediate family. You might have a mother who works 2 jobs, a father that works 3. Some cases, the father's not even around. It's the mother taking care of you and all your siblings. In my case, my grandmother raised me. She was a beautician. She did hair. And she actually just retired in December at 80 years old. So she's been standing on her feet for as long as I've been alive, doing hair, taking care of all of us. So like I said, most of us that come into the music business, we come into the business with pure intentions to change the situations in our environment, to make things a little bit easier. But the sad part about it is when you obtain a certain level of success, you end up in a circle of success. And once you end up in this circle of success, things change so fast. Before you can even put your feet back on the floor. As soon as before you even get a chance to recover from this so-called high, you find yourself engaged in a circle of repetitive sin. I would spend 24 hours of my day sinning. I would wake up first thing in the morning, sinning. Close my eyes at the end of the night just to wake up the next day and do the same thing again. And I did this for years. Now everybody in here knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He answers 3 du'as. The du'a of the traveler, the du'a of the parent to his child, and the du'a of the oppressed. Now, a lot of y'all that do know me and know my career, y'all been looking at these 3-minute and 40-second frames of these videos, and you always saying, look at this brother Loon, man. He gets out of a helicopter, he gets out of a jet, he's always poolside with a whole bunch of honeys around, and he just got all kinds of stuff going on. This brother could never be oppressed.